Howdy, 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 and welcome back to SciTrek, your sci-fi, TV, and movie channel. You know what time it is. It's time to get a little wild. It's time for some creatures. It's time for some cryptids. It's time for some dragons.
There be dragons.
To preface today, Littlefinger, David, has sent us in quite a wonderful little prompt to get the day going.
I still say we should have used that as the intro.
I wanted to use it as the intro, but I also wanted to make sure the microphone was doing all right first. So I was like, let me just make sure we're good. It's like fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So without further ado, here, let me before we get going here. Across every ancient civilization, from China to Mesopotamia, from the Norse sagas to the Aztecs, one creature appears again and again. A winged serpent, a fire breather, a guardian of treasure, a destroyer of worlds. Tonight, on SciTrek, we're asking a question that humanity has carried for thousands of years. Are dragons real? Were they inspired by something our ancestors truly saw? Did early humans encounter creatures now lost to time? Or is there something deeper? Something in our collective memory that keeps the dragon alive across cultures that never once met? This is Creatures and Cryptids, and tonight we follow the smoke. David, thank you for that. That was an awesome, fun little prompt to start the day.
Oh yeah.
Not yet. Give me a couple hours. By the end of this, I'm going to feel that way, one way or another. David, again, thank you for that. That was so much fun to read. Of course, dragons are real. Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale killed them all. Then Amelia Clark cast a new batch in the documentaries Reign of Fire and Game of Thrones. Precisely.
And we may be talking about something like that as well.
There may.
Yeah, there may be some references to some movies that may or may not have some of the actors that you mentioned in.
And most dragons definitely have Sean Connery's voice. When the ones that speak, at least, you know.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
You shall not pass. As we almost got. That was not very Scottish, but hey, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So without further ado, we jump into today. Oh, Melvin, this is your case study. I have so many different articles and things to bring up to discuss. We've got things from biblical things on the Disciples Road to Quora and Reddit to Discovery Channel, CNN, BBC Science Focused, and the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. We've got all kinds of things. Do Komodo's dragons count?
Of course they do. They got it. It's in the name. Jesus Christ! What the hell? It's like, you know, what makes Britain great? It's in the fucking name.
So that would make James Bond a dragon? Well, this is dragons like James Bond so much that they borrow the voice. You know, I think that's how that works. To mother-in-laws count? Yes, precisely.
Well, that's a entirely different type of dragon.
Well, all right. So where are we going to go ahead and start this whole conversation off? Because this is going to be a crazy, zany one, and I think there's going to be a lot of good points, a lot of crazy points, and anything and everything possible in between.
I think I want to start with, so this is a theory that I've had for a very long time. And in 2004, there was actually a mockumentary created called, had a couple of names. It was called The Last Dragon, and it was also called Dragons, a Fantasy Made Real. You can actually find it on YouTube. I think we can add the link to the description below after the stream, can't we?
Yeah, I can actually.
In case people want to take it out. I mean, it is a fascinating mockumentary. Because obviously, it is meant to mock everything. Except the problem is, it actually doesn't knock it so much as actually gives you evidence to explain why they could have actually did it. Which is basically what we're talking about. So talking about it from multiple civilizations across the world, historically recording them in hieroglyphs, different types of hieroglyphs, and depictions in drawings when the cultures never met at that time. So the interesting fact that they shared similarities, which could be actually argued that the climate they were in would actually make those changes. So yeah. This is this documentary is actually this mockumentary. Call it documentary. Who am I, Starmer? Sorry, that's a thing in the UK. Just don't worry about it.
I wouldn't have understood it unless UK SNL became a thing, and now that it has, I understand it much better, thankfully.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, if you get a chance to, anytime you want, you got a spare hour and a half, something like that. Check it out. It's a really good mockumentary, and like I said, it gives so much evidence to them actually existing, whilst it's supposed to also disprove them. It's funny. It's fun. It's good.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a bit of that today as well, where okay, there's a lot of evidence dragons may have existed. Were they fire-breathing, four-legged, two-winged creatures flying throughout the sky, running on land, and doing the things that we present them as doing in Knight's Tales and things of that sort?
Possibly all of the above.
Yeah, there might be a maybe and maybe not, and there might be a nice caveat added on there as a little addendum there, Observed Natural Evolution is here. I did star a comment from them earlier, but while y'all are hanging out with us, check out this. I'm going to attempt to pronunciate these correctly. Observed?
Are you any good at pronouncing that? Right.
We're about to find out. Embopteryx longibrachium. That actually wasn't too bad. Embopteryx longibrachium, either one. And Yiki? Spectacular. No evidence, just hearsay. Hey, it's possible, and we're gonna go into that as well. We shall. Hey, dragon blindness is real. Oh my God, don't go with Monk over here. Oh, the bird blindness everywhere.
Hey, it's like Pete and the dragon. Only Pete can see the dragon.
Hey,
there you go. See, there you go. Not all dragons are like Puff. Not all dragons are like Puff the Magic Dragon.
I'm fairly fond of Puff. If I'm just
the
Magic Dragon, not Puff Daddy. Oops.
When I was in school, we'd have to sit in the hallway in assembly, and that was probably my favourite song to sing. Puff the Magic Dragon. It just goes to show how long I've loved Dragon.
By the sea. It's timeless, ageless, generationless. Before we go any further, though, I'm gonna thank the man, the myth, the monk himself. Do you see a glowing thing in front of, or right behind my Nicotel up here?
You got the ZPM.
I've got the ZPM, and he surprised me with something.
That's a great reveal, Harris. Do you see it in the background? It's already there. Not. Oh, look, take this. I'm going to put it right here.
It's kind of hard to hold up. We'll do it. We'll do it correctly. I wanted it to be in action where it will be, But it looks so good. It looks so good.
Oh, that looks so
good. Of course, got to plug it in. Can I actually plug it in for an example right here? I cannot. But you see it glowing back there.
You don't want to plug anything in around the computer, because not with the connection issues with the cables we've been having. So.
Yeah, actually though.
Don't want to plug that in and then fry the computer.
Yeah. He did send one other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves right quick. I'm grabbing it real quick.
Okay, so what are we saying in the chat? Let's have a look. Let me fly.
I must go get my holy hand grenade of Antioch. free electricity on Harris. Hey, free electricity on Monk. He can send all of us CPMs and then electrify the world. He's essentially like the new version of Cold Fusion from the wonderful world of Fallout, which he also sent me a literally full 3D printed lunch kit of, which is so damn cool. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Monk. I was like a little kid in a candy shop whenever I opened this package. And I was twice as giddy with the simplicity of the latches work. The 3D printed latches even work. Is that good? Is that good? Nothing on the inside, but hey, there was a ZPM on the inside.
Hey, wait, are you pointing out a flaw with something that someone sent you?
A flaw?
Nothing inside. What?
No. There's nothing inside because now it's on a nice bookshelf. There was a ZPM in the
corner. Fair enough.
There was a beautiful ZPM. But yeah, setting this back up there. Let's go talk about the dragon.
Great work. Great job. For sure.
Monk, thank you so much again. Melvin, thank you for making sure I showed them off the correct way. I get a little ADD excited. I
don't know.
To continue on with these dragons, though.
Yeah.
There be dragons. Question mark? So, we've established that this entire kind of conversation is probably going to be deciphering on the level of, were they dinosaurs? Are they just a different type of reptile that lived past the dinosaurs and didn't fossilize the way we thought they did? So on and so forth. What about Komodo dragons? Bearded dragons? What about sea dragons? Are all those still equivalents to what were? Or are they just modern things we just say, you know? We've got options. We've got things.
Well, I mean, if you saw a Komodo dragon, if you was like back in those days and you saw a Komodo dragon like robotically moving towards you, I have to say that because they look like robots when they're walking. They don't look like real creatures.
Komodo dragons?
Yeah, especially the full-grown adults. They literally just look so clumsy and so mechanical. It's funny. It's funny watching them walk. But a lot of the time, any large lizard, like a Komodo or even a monitor lizard in Africa and Australia, and even the Philippines, everywhere, like in that climate, flicking their tongue. If they had a brightly coloured tongue at the time, then it might have been considered fire.
Yeah.
I know monitor lizards, they tend to have a dark coloured tongue. Komodos, I can't remember. I think they do. I think some of them have a reddish color tongue. I think some of the Komodos do.
That's something that if you put yourself in the position of any proto-civilization that we're used to that has records of dragons or dragons in their mythology. I know it sounds silly, but if you go run up to a creature, and if Komodo dragons are the size they are now, and we're talking about, they would have
been bigger.
Yeah, the different levels of oxygen in the atmosphere, the different points of time we're talking about would obviously, we know the size of mammalians, the size of reptiles were excessively larger than they are now, especially insects, and that would not have been a fun time in that aspect of things. But yeah, would any of those animals kind of equate, I guess animals, would they equate to what we consider?
Well, in modern terms, we probably understand the difference. But in ancient times, like, say, Egypt, a very large crocodile, a Nile crocodile specifically, very large, very vicious, very dangerous, could have been depicted as a dragon. Not all dragons have to breathe fire. So,
and I do like the idea of, because that's one that I haven't heard a whole bunch. The tongue being such a bright color that it just if you're running away from something and you see this big tongue flicking in and out, in and out, in and out, like a reptilian's tongue does.
Yeah, especially
it's going to look like it's shooting some fire just a little bit.
Yeah.
It might not be like a continuous plume of fire, like, we kind of get in movies and TV shows and stuff like that nowadays, but it would, while you're running from your life.
Some look like little kitties, just like Toothless in, How to Train Your Dragon. Cute little thing, but vicious as hell, can be very dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching a video just, well, maybe a little TMI, but, while sitting on the porcelain throne, scrolling through everything that you tend to just, get on Instagram or Facebook, scroll through everything. I saw a video of a guy with, I think, 2 different snakes. Just put them in his yard, and his snakes, he raised them. They're his snakes, and they literally come back to him no matter what you do. So reptiles can be cute and maybe not fluffy, but cute and adorable, good pets. And
yeah, but there was also this one story I heard. I think it was actually in the news. There was a guy who let a snake. It was some sort of python, I think it was. Mm-hmm. He let this snake move around the bedroom. He didn't have a terrarium or a vivarium for it. Literally just let it roam around the house, and it would curl up on the bedroom. And it got so big that he was asked once, where does it sleep? He said, oh, sometimes it'll get into the bed and it'll wake me up in the morning. I said, oh yeah, well, what would it be doing when it wakes you up in the morning? Oh, it'd be like, stretching out, onto the bed, and like its head would be above mine and its tail would be below my feet. And the problem was that because the snake was so large, it was actually trying to measure whether it could swallow him. So
I know that.
Yeah, it was literally measuring him up. So yeah, snakes can be cute and cuddly until they get to a certain size, and then it's like, oh, can I eat you or not?
They're like,
But that's the point. They have the flicking tongue, and generally most snakes, they'll have a brightly colored one, and it might look like fire.
If you're running away from your life, or if you're running for your life and away from a giant creature, a giant reptilian creature, back in the day, I mean, back in the day, 100 years ago, someone mentioned the Jersey Devil or Bigfoot or Chupacabra or something, just for the cryptid sake of things, and of course that's all U.S. focused, but Loch Ness, Nessie, whatever, the credence 100 years ago, of course there was still skepticism, but there's a reason it's so prevalent. Yeah, there's a reason it's so prevalent in all of our minds today. Is 100 years ago, everybody would have believed this. If not everybody, 70, 80, 90% of people. And there's a good chunk that still might today. And
maybe.
Is it, what level of credence does it have? Or I don't know if would the believability at that time, 1,000 years ago, 700 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,500 years ago, any of these time periods, would that have been enough to convince you, oh, that thing's breathing fire?
Well, here's the thing.
Chops an arm.
Here's the thing.
Big old beak.
You're talking about going back maybe 1,000 years. That's probably around the time when that dragons may have actually existed. They would have been like these you or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and we're talking about around the time. Let's say dragons were plentiful up until the point where humans started farming and raising cattle, sheep, whatever, raising flocks and farming. Proper, industrialization of animal care, that sort of thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And say the dragons are smart enough to stay away because they may have learned that don't mess with humans because they are literally capable of hunting us down, that sort of thing. When they find us, they will try and kill us. So maybe, I can imagine that later on when there were so few of them, and there's a lack of food in the mountains or something, like in Europe, they would have been in the mountains. So in the mountains, and there would have been a scarcity of food, and then they would move down into the valleys, which is where humans would put the farms, and then they would take livestock because it's the only food around. So yeah, I mean, we're talking about. I mean, if you're talking about 1,000 years ago, then that's around the time when the very last few dragons may have existed, and
Yeah.
I like to think that they did. As a threat to farms, they would have been hunted down regardless. Because I mean, if there's nothing we are a greedy people by nature, and animals were money at the time, basically. So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So back then, I think they probably would have existed. So, saying that may they have?
That's the R does keep you from having a funny name to say out loud there. But Ben here says there are people today that think the world is flat. Yeah, there
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
And that's why we're trying to give like a little bit of a basis. And
Yeah, but you got to also remember. You got to also remember that the people that are trying to people have access to YouTube. So there are a lot of people on YouTube that are flat earthers, and they believe it, and they do all these experiments that are supposed to prove that the Earth is flat, but the experiments they do actually prove it isn't. So,
well, okay.
yeah.
Before we go too far and start delving,
Oops,
let's go ahead and just finish off the aspect of fire breathing. Monk brings up an excellent point here. Some snakes are not poisonless. Is it possible not all dragon breath was fire? I mean, I doubt that there's some ice breath or something like that, but somebody very well.
Because, I mean, if you're thinking about a large European star dragon, so you've got 4 legs, big wings, large body, now you'd think that it would struggle to fly. And in that mockumentary, they actually go into detail that, like many birds, the skeletal structure is honeycomb. So, despite the fact that the skeletal structure is actually pretty strong, it is actually lighter because of the honeycomb in the bones. And at the same time, that mockumentary actually gives a perfect example of how another way they would have helped them fly. They could have had, say, 2 bladders in their chest. Which, if you look at a dragon, they've always got quite a big, bold chest, right?
Yeah, very stocky.
So, inside that area, there may have been 2 bladders, one producing nitrogen and the other one producing hydrogen. And of course, these are 2 very light air, these are 2 gases that are very light. They're much lighter than air, so they would actually help with lift and flight, which is good. But at the same time, it also provides the fuel source for the fire. All they need is a way to ignite it, right? So jet-powered dragons.
Yeah, there is. Because I didn't finish the entire hour and a half mockumentary from that one. I have watched a few other ones. I need to find it while we're talking here in a second. I should have actually.
Well, think about it this way, right? If you watch it in movies, you watch it in House of Dragon, or even Game of Thrones. When they take down a dragon, it usually happens when they pierce the breast area.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of time they would it bursts into flames, right? As it falls to, then it falls to the ground. So that kind of is a way of proving that theory may have been accurate. But also in that mockumentary, there is a way to ignite the gas as well in their mouth.
See, yeah, that's where I don't remotely believe that if dragons, because I think there is some credence that dragons may have existed, but much more in that dinosaur reptilian aspect of things. And I don't think there would have been an actual fire breathing thing. I think there would be some kind of animal nowadays that would at least be some sort of equivalent.
This is one of the things that mockumentary actually goes into. Because in the mockumentary, they find a frozen, mummified dragon, and they open the mouth and they notice they got the row of carnivorous teeth, so very sharp teeth. But at the back, they got molars and incisors. But the thing is, they're not actually used for chewing food. They're actually quite tough, and actually grinding platinum, which gives the ignition source for the fire. So they literally they would nest in an area where they had a high platinum vein or something, and they would literally bite.
Yeah, but we're not just going off of one single mockumentary.
We're not.
That's not trying to be. We're trying to expand and figure out.
The point is that makes sense in how they may have had the ability to breathe fire. They had the ignition source and they had the fuel source. That is an example of how they could have done it. Not necessarily how they did, but it's a possibility. There are gases that when combined with oxygen, they do ignite. There are some gases like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced of anything remotely fire-breathing. I do think, I really do like the 3 different top prevalent theories, I think, that I have for where fire-breathing would have come from dragon-wise. I hadn't really thought of or heard the tongue theory. I like the bright colored tongue and, you know, early human civilization, or not necessarily early human civilization, but human civilization with a little bit different of a thought pattern and process than modern times would have been getting chewed up by giant reptilians, seeing a bunch of bright tongues. You kind of think it's fire while you're running away. Oh my God, he's just being burned alive back there.
Yeah.
Also, I really do like Monk's idea of, hey, it could have just been poison. And what is one person that gets slightly bit or singed or something by a poisonous reptilian, makes it back to his colleagues, wherever that might be, they may be, say this is spreading like
corrosive venom, a corrosive venom, which is what
it spreads like fire on me, and all they hear is it spreads like fire, and you got stories from there. Same thing Peter brought up a little bit afterwards, I believe. Oh no, it was Lead Farmer, excuse me. Electric eels, I guess, are the closest. That very well could have been a reptilian with like an electric kind of aspect to it. And do electric eels give credence to there being a possibility of a gaseous ignition that could happen, like actually fire-wise? Maybe a little bit more.
Well, when you figure out the R class,
yeah, I just don't think there's a place in nature that has had a, you know, things in nature, evolution develops for a reason. There's no reason for a reptilian to develop fire-breathing capabilities. There is a reason for electric eels to do so in the environments they put themselves in. But I do like the electricity thought. I like the poison thought, and I do like the thought of the flickering tongues of bright colors while chomping down on some knights running away.
Well,
you're gonna think that's
you saying that about the fire and that, I mean, there is actually precedent for something along those lines in the bombardier beetle.
That's what Lead Farmer just said. I'm not familiar with the bomber beetle.
Are you not?
Bombardier beetle, I believe.
Yeah, bombardier beetle. When threatened, this
bring up the chat?
rapid fire chemical explosion inside its abdomen and sprays a noxious, boiling hot liquid, approximately 100 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, from its rear end at predators like ants, frogs, and spiders. So,
I'm sorry, I need a video.
That's not fire, but it is essentially a chemical reaction that creates the explosive thing. So, explosive reaction.
Are y'all able to see? Cool. Yeah, bombardier beetles. I had chemical fire. Well, all right. Well, now there is a possibility, but would that translate from an insect to a reptile? Is, I guess, the other question I would have here. I'm going to mute this, or we can just watch.
It may not necessarily translate, but there is a precedent. There is the precedent for it. So.
I do something like that when I'm scared. So really, it's a chemical explosion coming out of their backside?
Yeah. Yep.
Temperature of boiling water. Could... Yeah, Komodo dragons have an anticoagulant in their teeth, so scratch you with it.
Yeah, but they also have bacteria, extremely rapid growing bacteria. So.
Oh yeah, which and that gives credence to the poison. I think
Yep.
there's the poison, the electricity, and the bright
There's also,
tongue.
there's also if you go back to the spitting with the poison, there are snakes that actually spit venom. There are other reptiles that spit venom. I can't remember what the name of that.
Well, and especially if we go back to the theory that dragons may be dinosaurs that just could have survived in little pocket areas of the world for a little bit longer to a degree as well, because that is a very big prevalent theory some folks feel. Who's to say the was it the spitting Dilophosaurus, right? The Dilophosaurus from Jurassic Park. It's not dissimilar. So the reaction chamber can produce a huge change in the type of spray. Wow. Okay. It's combo runny blood. Poison spreads through the body. Okay. Well, that was an interesting one. All right. So there's 4 theories. The 3 we pointed out and the bombardier theory. Okay.
Well, the bombardier is basically an example of two chemical reaction caused by an ejection of, I think there's 2 volatile chemicals. And if you consider the fact that giant dragons are carnivores, and what do rotting bodies produce? They produce gas, normally in the form of nitrogen. Can't remember.
Nitrogen and what?
And hydrogen is also something that they can actually they might be able to separate out in a way as well. So whether it's a combination of nitrogen and hydrogen, maybe it's just nitrogen from rotting flesh in their stomachs, from the part of the digestive process.
Oh, that actually, I don't dislike that
theory. So
theory.
it's a way for the gas to build up, and it also obviously would limit the amount of fire the dragon can produce.
Well, that's where my brain goes. Yeah.
So think about it. If you had a large lizard that had an unlimited supply of fire breathing, no one would be able to defeat it. But if it was limited to, say, a handful of shots,
yes,
then a knight would be able to get close enough eventually to run it through, right? So
yeah. I'd have to see it to believe it, but that gives a lot of credence to the thought and theory, I think, in a lot of ways. But I'd have to see any of these to believe it. Maybe besides the poison, because Komodo dragons, we literally have the perfect example. And electric eels, of course, we have that example as well. Truman Show much? We're on. Yes, that's why we're not talking about movies right now. We're talking about the actual. We've got CNN, Discovery, and
we might talk about movies towards the end.
We could,
because there are some great dragon movies out there.
There's an element of fun as well. Yeah. Let's just dive into a little bit further the conversation here. Discover magazine has an article on dragons that entered the fossil record. Discover or Discovery? Oh no, yeah, because this is the real life dragons of the day that I have on Discovery Channel, which honestly might be a. Oh, thank you for. Oh shoot, I'll look it up while we're looking at this. Discovery Channel, while we're thinking about it, actually has credence for what dragons are like in modern times, and which ones are which. Of course, Komodo dragons, the largest living on Earth.
That's a baby.
Yeah. Reaching up to 10 feet long and more than 300 pounds, the mothers of dragons can have virgin births, meaning they reproduce asexually by fertilizing their own eggs. Komodo mothers will guard their nest for 6 months to protect their future heirs. Once hatched, the juvenile Komodos must fight for survival against cannibalism by adults. Those who survive will become apex predators. Bruce Lee enter the dragon. But yeah, let's. How do we frame this thought? Give us a 1 out of 5 on the likelihood of what we consider dragons eventually evolved into this over time.
So 1 to 5. So.
1 out of 5. And chat, this is open for y'all as well. If you had to this is just fun, of course. If you had to give it a 1 through 5 numerical rating on the chances, what we consider dragons in media of past, would this be what the modern evolution would have led to? Would this be what evolution led to in the modern time?
Well, yeah. I'd say in modern terms, maybe a 2, 2.5, upwards towards 3, possibly.
Okay, wildly different.
Terms, you're talking about modern terms. Would we consider these to be dragons, right? And
would
consider them to be dragons.
In modern terms, yes. But would this have been
in the ancient days? It's probably around about a 5. It would be considered a land dragon, no wings, so it'd be a land dragon. It's got a brightly coloured tongue, which may look like fire when it's flicking about in certain light. So, say dawn or dusk, that tongue could probably look like fire, with reflecting the setting or rising sun.
Mm-hmm.
So, in just say 1,000 years ago, definitely, 5,
okay.
A 5 out of 5. But modern terms, it's a moot point because we don't view them in that way, right? So, yeah, so it's a lot. It's low for modern terms, but high for back then.
I'm with you. I'm like 2, 2.5.
Yeah. So
that seems more likely than, let's say, a leafy sea dragon. Leafy sea dragons or gloret sea dragon are marine fish that grow up to about a foot long. This rare species may resemble a seahorse, but it is actually more closely related to pipefish. Leafy sea dragons are native to the southern coast of Australia, where they camouflage among the seagrass beds.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
That one's a negative Ghost Rider for me. Yeah. Or was Monk's -1? -1 for me on that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say as to why they got dragon in the name. I mean, it's probably closer to a seahorse than a dragon,
Yeah, agreed. I think that one just sounds cool to call it a dragon. But what about a bearded dragon? Because bearded dragons live up to their name. Much like the dragons of Game of Thrones, bearded dragons are equipped with an armor of spiny scales. They're native to Australia, but have become popular pets due to their gentle, inquisitive nature. Bearded dragons get their name from the beard of spikes under their chin, which puffs up depending on their mood.
Yeah. And I think they have a rather large tongue, which I think I remember rightly. Sometimes that it can be brightly coloured as well.
This is what we have Google for.
Mm-hmm.
What would you give it rating?
Variants. I think there's variants of the bearded dragon, and there's multiple versions. If I remember rightly, there's a few.
There are, and it just looks kind of like a normal tongue color. It's just like a pinkish gray.
Yeah, but when they're more active, would be in the early morning, late, evening times. So with the sun going up and coming down, the tongue could look brighter with more color. So, but
yeah,
the dragon, no.
And Peter does bring up an excellent point. People love to believe in magic. Ghost sightings were all the rage until aliens became more popular. Very much.
How can you prove magic doesn't exist?
Well, then also, is magic just technology we don't understand at the same time? There's also that.
Well, yeah, exactly. An aeroplane appearing in the Middle Ages, I mean, that would be considered magic, right?
Yes, very much so. There's actually.
Well, what? Wait, no. What about a 1970s Charger appearing in the medieval times? That would be magic.
Oh,
that would be magic, no matter where you were.
Yeah. That Damon's Shadow Realm, the new anime that's out right now, they leave like a little, mystified village or whatever, and when the mystified barrier comes down, everybody looks up and sees airplanes, and they're like, "Oh, dragons! Dragons!"
The helicopters, you mean the helicopters?
Oh, they're helicopters. That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
and they think they're helicopter dragons. Yeah, I've seen a couple of episodes of that. So yeah. Russell's teapot paradox is not a winnable argument.
I just looked it up right now. Saw the bearded dragon. You need to wear a goatee or mustache dragon. Yeah, I'd give this one a solid 1. Moving forward, though, blue or maybe a 2. You know, it could be a
10, -5. Jesus
Blue
Christ.
dragon sea slug might be small, but they're mighty. These stunning creatures are venomous with a painful sting that in rare instances can be life-threatening to humans. Blue dragons are only about an inch in size, but they devour creatures like the Portuguese man-o-war, storing their prey's stinging cells to use against predators later. There are weird, things in nature that we're more closely related to, like a raccoon than we are, or like sometimes like a jellyfish than we are some other weird thing that you might think we're more closely related to. I don't have the perfect example off the top of my head. But nature does play some weird games and tricks sometimes. The venom aspect could be, maybe something devolved or evolved into this. But also it's a slug, and it's not a reptilian by any means, so...
Well, Leg Farmer, the thing is they did that because of the vampire bat, so that's what brought vampire bats into the vampire mythology.
Are you talking about the vampire bat? Yeah. And there's definitely an essence of that to dragons and being in history the way they are, and then mythology.
Well, I mean, it's the wings. It's the wings that give the impression.
Very much so. Speaking of wings, the flying dragon, or Draco lizards, are capable of flying, quote unquote, through the sky like a mythical dragon. Scaly membranes between their forelegs and hind legs, supported by an enlarged set of ribs, allow Dracos to glide up to 160 feet from tree to tree. There are more than 40 species of flying dragons, but all of them are small, with an average size of about 3 inches. If there is something that is actually evolved or devolved, whatever the thought process is there.
The thing is, there's a potential for this to be devolved from the Chinese dragon.
I think this gives a lot more credence to that.
Yeah, you know how the Chinese dragon mythology, they have a water-based one and a fire-based one, right? 2 different variations. It could have made sense because, I mean, a dragon that lives in the water might not be able to produce fire, but one that lives on the land would. And because they're offshoots of the same species, like say during the Ice Age, they lived at the bottom, towards the bottom, as deep in the ocean as possible, where it was still considerably warm, down where where there's a lot of thermal vents, maybe. And they had an adaptation that how to train. But
Crack me up.
I mean, the land-based ones, they may have had little wings that would allow them to glide through the air. Not necessarily flying dragons, but gliding dragons. That would make sense. Why they say that they're flying dragons, I don't know. They're gliding dragons. But I guess flying dragons sounds cooler. And the sea serpent variant the wings would have been adapted to fins. So the adaptations are there. And
well, I mean, literally what this says right here, there are 40 different variations of just flying Draco lizards themselves. So one I guess that would be one genus, right? And then 40 different like smaller species, or is one species 40 different? We can get into that stuff later. I'm not going to say it correctly. It's been a second since I've had biology class. If something were to have credence,
here's the thing: isn't the flying dragon the inspiration of the wingsuit?
Oh, 1,000%. Well, that or flying squirrels,
That and flying squirrels. They were both, because I think there's different versions of the flying suit that has different designs for the wings. So, I think the ones, the base jumper ones, they're the ones that look like that. Like that big inflated thing. Yeah, they're the ones that look more like the flying dragons than the squirrels. because they puff out as well because they got the veins.
Very much so, yeah. I do feel like this one for me would be a 4 out of 5 for the credence of what could have devolved. Dragons don't necessarily.
I mean, it could be literally a Chinese dragon devolving as like a dinosaur becoming a bird. I mean, it's the same basic principle, right?
Yeah, I mean, who's to say this isn't what all the dragons are like back?
Is it devolving or is it evolving? I think it's evolved, not devolved. If they're devolving, then they'll just be turning into dragons or dinosaurs again, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I guess you could say devolved just because it went from giant, awesome dragon to little creature in this.
Well, I mean, if humans started devolving, we would just become slime again in a puddle, right? So,
yeah, that's also true. That's also true. Yeah, I'd give flying dragons, Draco lizards, a 4 out of 5. I think drop bears are real.
They look the part. They do look the part. A bit small for my liking, but yeah, they look the part.
Yeah, that's true. What is it? Australopithecus, something like that. Yes, exactly. It's just a matter of perspective. That's all. But yeah, what would you rate a 1 out of 5? Flying dragons being credence for the mythology of
3.5, 4. They're a bit small, but you can see similarities to the legend. A large a reptile that flies. If you were looking up in the sky at the sky and you saw one of those fly, you wouldn't know how high they were. So for all you know, you're on the ground. You see that,
even if it is only 3 inches, 7 inches,
you see
10
a
inches,
3-inch shape 5 feet above your head. You might as well think it's thousands of feet in the air. You don't know the size.
Yeah. And even if you got like a little gust of wind, you would think, "Holy shit, that thing is huge above you in a way."
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Back in the day, you might not know any better. And it has been brought up a couple times jokingly, but the world was much more spiritually focused back then, and a lot of that included
the spiritual nature of human belief system at the time. Then we were more we were simple at the time. We were more simple-minded. It was about survival and stuff like that at the time.
Yeah, it was about living for tomorrow.
Which is why religion came into it in the first place, is because we needed, we had something to believe in to better us, in a way to better the life of everyone. So,
and in that, I mean, especially early religions, it's literally the last 100, 150, 200 years even, that most major religions have stopped using psychedelics or psychoactive plants.
I mean,
the insects people walked around church with, that was a whole thing.
Think back to ancient Greece, Rome, even the Spartans. They had oracles, right? And the oracles were the ones that were taking what we would call psychedelics and shit. So, yeah, don't stop believing. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean that's literally what they were doing back then. They were.
You don't stop
LSD
believing.
came from beer back in the day from the ancient Greeks. And most people still believe in religion. Yeah.
Hey, didn't Native Americans had peyote? Yeah.
Every single mythological, every cultural mythological dragon also tends to have a significantly spiritual mythological practice that was probably utilized along
that is true.
That time.
Dragons have always been depicted as either a savior, a destroyer, or what's the other one? There's
or like a not nature guardian, but like nature's beast.
Yeah, well, it's just I think we concentrate more these days on the defender or the destroyer rather than anything else. We don't think of them as animals these days. We don't think of them as just wild animals. We think of them as a guardian or a defeat or a destroyer. There's a reason King Ghidorah is a 3-headed dragon or Hydra. So there's a reason just bring Godzilla into it. Hey, Godzilla! Hey, fire! Atomic breath. That could be considered fire.
Godzilla. Godzilla.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do think those Bridezilla. Here we go though with the Chinese water dragon. Asian water dragons are bright green lizards found throughout southern Asia.
Is that the one that can run across water?
This is another species that really lives up to its name, with high horn scales running from its head to the tip of its tail. Asian water dragons are strong swimmers and adept climbers with thick claws that end in needle-sharp points. I'm not sure. I thought that was going to tell us.
There is a lizard that can run on water. I can't remember what it's called. I thought it might have been the water dragon, because it would make sense.
Water running lizard is a basilisk lizard.
Oh, it's a basilisk.
Which it looks. That looks like a little dragon, though.
Yeah.
With its everything on it.
Yeah, that green one looks like it might have multiple fins on the back too. Kind of like the flying lizard does. You know, trying to keep its weight up off the surface of water so it can run. That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, though, the dragon millipede. I give zero credence to this one.
Zero. It's not even a reptile, man. Jeez.
No, same thing. As much as I like the slug for the venomous aspect of things,
it looks beautiful though. Wouldn't want to go near it, but it looks beautiful.
Oh, it just brought us to cats. Hey, he must be friends with Jesus. You know what? Let's.
Shall we step into the biblical side of it?
I guess we can.
I believe dragons are mentioned in the Bible.
Where are they? So, Discover Magazine. Yes, we do have that article pulled up as well. But while we're at the
because someone mentioned, you know, yeah.
While we've talked about religion, and we've talked about the spirituality that tends to base at least the formation of a lot of religions, you know, there is mythology within any and every religion.
Yep.
Jesus was gifted with the same powers of Flash. That's how he turned water into wine and walked. That's great. But with all those ideas there, with religion definitely having mythology focused around it. Not necessarily mythology. Sorry if you do believe in certain things. It could just be history in your books.
When you think about say the Old Testament,
yes,
there are things in there that are mythological and legendary.
It's a good thing you bring that up. That article needs to be very much enlarged to be able to read.
Oh yeah.
So the Disciples Road is this website. No, excuse me. It's the RussellMcKinney.com. And this is by Russell McKinney. Dragons in the Bible. I have not read his opinion on what this is.
Quote the verses. We can.
The verses down here, though, he does highlight.
Yeah, that's good.
In the KJV, the King James Fifth. Okay. Psalm 74:13 speaks of the dragons in the waters. And the following verse cites the name Leviathan. Similarly, Isaiah 27:1 makes mention of the dragon that is in the sea and names that creature Leviathan. Psalm 104:26 fits in nicely with those references by saying that God made Leviathan to play in the sea. Finally, the entirety of Job chapter 41 provides the Bible's description of Leviathan. The creature was some type of massive sea monster that could actually breathe fire. Job 41:18-21. Even stranger is the fact that the Psalm 74:14 verse speaks of Leviathan as having heads, plural. There isn't a person alive who can say with any certainty what type of creature the Leviathan was, but our best guess is that it was some type of aquatic dinosaur. As for the fact that it could breathe fire, perhaps that isn't so unbelievable considering the number of cultures around the world that have ancient stories that tell of fire-breathing dragons. The national emblem of China was a dragon. Roman legions inscribed the emblems of dragons in their battle standards. Norse sailors built depictions of dragons onto the front of their ships. The Maya, the Aztecs, the Native Americans in North America spoke of dragons. Even the small country of Bhutan, which is located in the Himalayan mountains, has a dragon on its flag. Dragons are in the Bible, and they did talk about the Book of Job. There are talking donkeys in the Bible as well. There's a lot of things in the Bible that people forget about.
Although I don't think they mentioned Shrek in the Bible, do they?
No, they don't mention Shrek.
No. Just donkey.
Hey, thumbs up for our craziness, y'all. Por favor, we love it. We'd appreciate it. To be honest, a lot of the Bible and other religious texts are stolen from pagan mythology.
Exactly.
Yeah, but let me pose this question, because yes, that is true. That is very true. The Council of Nicaea literally tried to gather more pagan religions and dissipate them to bring them into and ingratiate them into the Christianity.
The ancient goal of Christianity originally was to replace paganism. So they wanted to remove paganism because they saw it as sinful. But then any religion that wasn't Christianity back then needed to be replaced with Christianity, according to them. So I'm not mocking Christians as a religion. I'm just saying the history of the Old Testaments and before that, kind of not what Christianity is today. Just
saw it, David. But yeah, with the thoughts you just gave us, and this thought Monk adds to that, the Bible is a book written thousands of years ago. Who's to say what's in there is legitimate? Sure. And
there isn't a front page. What if they just never found the first page of it, which was like, to my dearest. I can't remember the quote. The quote from Red Dwarf I'm trying to think of. Let's see if I can find it.
So the question I'm going to pose here is, with the Bible being thousands of years old, it is a document that has gone through multitudes of generations. A lot of changes have happened, so on and so forth. I guess here, let me preface a little bit more. With the amount of Christians on this planet wholeheartedly believing the Bible, and there is, of course, the caveat of there's a lot of different denominations within Christianity and other religions, because most of these are Old Testament, I believe, which is.
Can I read out the quote from Red Dwarf that I was trying to remember?
Sure.
Yeah. So, this is what I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember it from word for word, but basically, this is what it comes up as. Archaeologists near Mount Sinai have discovered what that is believed to be a missing page from the Bible. The page is presently being carbon dated in Bonn. If genuine, it belongs at the beginning of the Bible and is believed to read, "To my darling Candy, all characters portrayed within this book are fictitious, and any resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental." That was a great sketch that they did for that. That was brilliant.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
The page, that's not finished yet. The page has been universally condemned by church leaders. That was funny as hell back in the day when that first happened, when that first came on TV. That was funny.
All right. Just the thought, because I think we're all on a similar wavelength on approach to religion sometimes. Yes and no. There's goods and bads to everything. With the amount of the world and the globe that does actively believe in, because this is Old Testament stuff, so it does technically have credence within the Torah as well. So the two major religions on this planet, and Old Testament is also, all three major religions on this planet is utilize this text.
Was Leviathan removed from the New Testament? I can't remember.
I'm not entirely positive on that. My question though is, with the profound belief, and I think Leviathan specifically, with the amount of different times it is mentioned, it's harder to say, oh well, that was just a metaphor for something here, or that was just a metaphor for something here, when it's mentioned 4 separate times, if not more. Does this mean your average Christian is supposed to believe dragons are real. Leviathans, sea monsters at the very least.
I think not to attack religion, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an open question.
It's more likely adapting existing myths and legends and incorporating them into the Bible, just so that they can have some ground in what people already believed in at the time.
Well, Judaism was much older than Christianity, and this is still part of the Torah.
Well, Christianity is a branch, or is branched off Judaism. So it's Judeo-Christian, isn't it? Judeo-Christian. So that's where the Bible comes from.
Yeah, and this is kind of also where I was going with the question. It depends on how literally they take the Bible. Different congregations have different interpretation. That's the issue.
But if you haven't, think about it this way: you have a population that is not educated. They have no idea,
of course,
what is real and what isn't. So they're going to believe someone in an expensive robe is standing in front of them, right? So because they can't read it themselves. You got to remember that the church, Christianity, they would not allow poor people to learn to read Latin because they didn't want anyone else to be able to read it. So it's all about adaptation.
We'll tell you what it means.
And yeah, exactly. We'll tell you. You look at it and it scribbles on a piece of paper, you can't read it.
Well, and of course, there is also, Monk and Stanley's were pointing out, the original Bible was written in Aramaic, translated to Greek, or translated to was it Greek to Latin or Latin to Greek, and then English from there. I mean, there's a lot of it. Thank you, Martin Luther. It's just an interesting, I guess, something that I don't know the numbers of Christians on the planet, and including Muslim and Jewish populations within. I don't know how much the three major religions have, but this is in their text, and there are multiple sightings of it, not just one, which I guess kind of throws a little bit of the metaphor out whenever you have this and this example to bring up, and detailed descriptions within all of them. Maybe not super detailed, but detailed. It's 2.4 billion Christians. Good Lord. So does that mean the vast majority of this world, whether they actively would like to admit it or not, by default believe in dragons? Atlantis will be found.
Atlantis was found.
3 times.
They know where they found it in the desert.
Lake Chad?
No, I believe the name that was given to it is the Eye of the Eye of the Desert. I think it's called. It's like it's rings, which they believe were waterways, but where the water receded.
What country or what part of the world?
North African continent.
Oh, okay. So I think that is Lake Chad area.
Yeah,
like right under the Atlas Mountains.
It's an area of the northern desert of Africa, which may have been underwater at some point. Because the idea of Atlantis is the possibility that Atlantis was actually a man-made island of waterways. So
kind of not the origin of like a Venice or something.
Yeah. So
I like that.
The thought was that Atlantis was originally a small cluster of buildings built on an island. There was no other land around it, so they literally made their own waterways by making rings around the original island.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
It does. Yeah, it does, and it's kind of plays into the thought of literally, obviously it's not one-to-one with dragons, but it's kind of
mythology.
It's mythology based in ancient fact to some degree, and we're trying to figure out the level of science fiction and science fact.
There are multiple accounts of Atlantis existing through history. Just don't know where it was. And they believe it was where they now call it the Eye of the Desert. I think it's the Eye of the Desert.
If we're talking about the same place, I'm thinking it's right under the Atlas Mountains around where Chad would be.
Just check.
Yeah, if we can figure out where the Pillars of Hercules are or were.
Hercules. Weren't they the entrance to the Mediterranean? Or am I thinking of another one?
Oh yeah, the Aztec water city over Tenochtitlan was awesome. It's another thing where there's a very good chance Atlantis wasn't just a single place either. Like there's so many different water city like ideas from different cultures. Tenochtitlan's the perfect example. It's kind of more one-to-one with the dragon thought than you think. It's what basis of mythology, fact, and fiction?
Yeah.
Where do they all meet? Is really the question. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of smoke within mythology and history of what we perceive. So I'm intrigued to find out more things over time. While we're talking dragons, though, let me get rid of this bombardier beetle. Let's bring up real quick a children's museum of Indianapolis thought. Wasn't Atlantis on a different planet? We had to just Stargate to get to it, of course. Pillars of Hercules, I thought, was the Rock of Gibraltar, that strait between Spain and Morocco. Oh, I was there last August, and it was beautiful. And this is true as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking the Pillars of Hercules were either side of the Strait of Gibraltar. The narrowest point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You've also got to remember that at one point, the Strait of Gibraltar was a lot narrower at one point. It was around the time that the Great Flood happened. That's when it sort of stretched out because the water, the Atlantic Ocean rose and obviously overwhelmed the original strait, which is why the Pillars of Hercules are not there.
Right. So Atlantis was somewhere in the Atlantic, presumably. I don't know. But hey, let's bring up some Children's Museum of Indianapolis here. Are dragons real? This is a kind of almost a summation of our general thoughts of today. From the thrilling race to Dragon's Edge with Hiccup and Toothless facing down a Hungarian horntail in tournaments to dragons igniting our imagination, they soar across our screens and pages embodying power, danger, and untamed magic. But have you ever wondered if these incredible creatures could actually exist? We'll let you in on a secret. Dragons are real. And one's at the Children's Museum. Well, sort of. Dracorex Hogwartsia proudly stands on a display on level 2 of the museum. Its name literally means Dragon King of Hogwarts, a direct nod to the beloved Harry Potter series with its impressive crown of horns and bumps. It certainly looks like something dragged from myth. So does that mean dragons once roamed the earth? It all comes down to words, discoveries, and of course, biology. Dracorex Hogwartsia. That's just a cast, but cool. So what exactly is a dragon? If we asked you to describe a classic dragon, maybe like the fearsome beast guardian Gringotts Bank, we bet you'd mention huge size, tough scales, 4 legs, powerful wings, a whipping tail, and crucially, the ability to breathe fire. Right? That image, however, evolved over time. The word dragon comes from the ancient Greek drakon, meaning serpent or big snake. While we know snakes don't have legs or breathe fire, the word morphed over centuries, particularly in Europe, to describe the mythical winged fire-breathing reptiles we envision today. Of course, this is something that we're going to dive in a little bit further, not just a little bit further, but a lot of it further, did ancient fossils spark the legends? Let's step back in time. Millions of years ago, dinosaurs roamed Europe. While we've only understood
I've got to deal with the dog. So I'll be back in a minute. Keep going, I can hear you.
I will just keep reading. Millions of years ago, dinosaurs roamed Europe. While we've only understood paleontology for less than 200 years, their fossils have been weathering out of the ground for as long as humans have walked the earth. Bringing that, prevailing thought, Could dinosaurs be dragons? Or could dragons just be dinosaurs? It's just, did the chicken hatch the egg, or did the egg come first? What happened, you know? Children's Museum of Indianapolis does kind of have some ideas for us. The science behind why dragons stay in fantasy. The wing versus leg problem. Your typical fantasy dragon does have 4 legs and a separate pair of wings. Check any field guide to the Wizarding World, but in nature, we've never seen a vertebrate skeleton like that. And realistically, I don't think it's possible. Real flying vertebrates, birds, bats, extinct pterosaurs, have wings that are modified front limbs / arms, not extra appendages. I can't speak again. Interestingly enough, some modern dragon designs acknowledge this. The fire, plasma, or acid problem. Breathing fire sounds incredibly cool, whether it's the simple flame of a common Welsh green or the specialized blast of a deadly natter. But biologically, it's a non-starter. We've never seen an animal that could generate fuel, ignite it safely on command, and protect itself from the intense heat internally and externally. There's simply no evidence in nature or the fossil record to suggest it ever happened. Well, we did talk the bombardier beetle earlier, and the bombardier beetle is a good example of, there might be some credence to this, but again, it wouldn't be igniting fuel on fire. It would be closer and more akin to a boiling water or a boiling chemical. And that has credence. I mean, within spitting reptiles, the Dilophosaurus is a dinosaur. Like if it were a dinosaur, the dragon that survived longer than expected, it very well could have some spitting acid. Or like the bombardier beetle, have something that burns not just human skin, but any creature that it attacks, which means it gets a nice cooked meal at the same time, you know? Also, back in the day, they used to put dinosaur bones back together wrongly, so a lot of those could have been mistaken for dragon bones. And that's a huge possibility, and kind of a probability in a lot of ways. But let's keep reading right here. Science behind why dragons stay succinctly in fantasy. The size problem. Many beloved dragons are enormous. Think of the island-sized bewilderbeast or the massive Gringotts dragon. Real-world physics, specifically the square cube law, makes flight incredibly difficult for large, heavy creatures. They need impossibly large wingspans, phenomenal muscle power, adding even more weight, and metabolic rates far beyond any known vertebrate just for liftoff, let alone agile flight. True. Sorry to see monsters. Yeah, did you hear any of that? Have any thoughts about that, or shall we keep reading?
Yeah, we'll go back to the bit where you were saying about the flight. Were you saying they were too big, too heavy to fly, or whatever?
Right here, real-world physics, specifically the square cube law, makes flight incredibly difficult for large, heavy creatures. They need impossibly large wingspans, phenomenal muscle power, adding even more weight, and metabolic rates far beyond any known vertebrate just for liftoff, let alone flight. And I did, real quick, just get this square cube law up here. The square cube law is a mathematical principle applied in a variety of scientific fields, which describes the relationship between the volume and the surface area as a shape's as a shape's size increases or decreases. It was first described in 1638 by Galileo Galilei in his two new sciences as the ratio of two volumes is greater than the ratio of their surfaces. This principle states that as the shape grows in size, its volume grows faster than its surface area. When applied to the real world, this principle has many implications which are important in fields ranging from mechanical engineering to biomechanics. It helps explain phenomena including why large mammals like elephants have a harder time cooling themselves than small ones like mice, and why building taller and taller skyscrapers is increasingly difficult.
Okay.
Math, history, philosophy, religion, science. This is what I call edutainment. That's, it's kind of the goal a little bit.
But go back to what I said about in the beginning of how dragons may have been able to fly. Like some birds that have the honeycomb skeletal structure. So the bones are literally honeycombed. So they're lighter, but they don't lose their strength. So, and the fact that the bladders fill up with gas that's lighter than air, which reduces which will actually aid in the ability to fly, despite their size. So,
maybe, I don't know. The square cube law is actually I wasn't familiar with the law itself, name wise, but I guess I was familiar with kind of how it works. I ain't that fancy, but generally I understand how it's supposed to work conceptually.
Well, think about it. Think about an airplane, right? Airplanes are not one solid piece of metal, right?
Sure.
They have a fuselage which is made out of the lightest material we have, which is strong enough to handle the stresses of flight. We have the skeletal, the structural stuff, the structure inside, which is not one piece. It's literally honeycombed, you could argue, hollowed out tubes welded together. So
yeah,
not necessarily welded; they're mostly bolted together. So they fly.
Sure, but that is a very different type of engineering, and it definitely isn't possible in a biology format. The closer, I think, equivalent to what we have.
Consider the fact that airplanes were inspired by birds. So
sure.
Hey, I don't want to believe. I believe regardless.
I mean, I don't not believe. I think I want to believe as well. I want to believe that it was a dinosaur or reptilian that, or at least a type of reptilian type of dinosaur that might have survived a little bit longer and maybe bridged with humanity a little bit. And I think it was, where was the pterosaur comment? Oh, Stanley's. And the idea if there was a cross between pterodactyl and humans sharing the world as briefly as that might have been, there very well may have been. And I think that gives some credence to a lot of this too. And, there's a bunch of people in New Mexico always saying there's pterodactyls out there still. And, that's not the case.
Well, not so much pterodactyls. I mean, the world has changed a lot from that time. So pterodactyls wouldn't necessarily be able to actually fly. And there are arguments to say that pterodactyls were gliding animals, not flying animals. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and those little flying the Draco lizards, I think, are kind of a perfect example of that. They don't have to be some giant, bewildering creature necessarily.
Like, if you look at the dragons that they made for Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah,
they say in the show that eventually they were so small they were no bigger than a large cat or a small dog, right? So. Yeah, the evolution could change. Would have changed. So they may have changed, just like dinosaurs are supposed to be birds.
Yeah. Well, technically, I think by definition, every aviary evolved or devolved, whatever the perspective would be, came from a reptile, and also all of the reptiles are dinosaurs or were dinosaurs, technically are the modern equivalent to a dinosaur, but just what we've gotten over time.
Well, crocodiles and alligators, they're living dinosaurs. They haven't changed in years. You could argue other animals have, like Komodo dragon. I don't think that's changed that much. Maybe gotten smaller.
Yeah,
but, they're living dinosaurs. They are literally living fossils. So,
and everything tastes like chicken. It does give credence to that theory as well, though. It kind of, they all do taste similar. Alligator,
and chicken always tastes better with barbecue sauce.
Yeah, this is also true. Barbecue ranch, even better. Crocodiles were 400 million years ago. Yep, it's insane. So with the bone structure of everything, kind of brought up while we were reading this. They also
if I remember rightly, isn't it the skeletal structure of dinosaurs being similar to birds? Isn't that the origin of the theory that they became birds? And then later on, there were fossilized remains that had feathers, which is why they further believe that dinosaurs became birds.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Most dinosaurs probably had feathers back in the day, too, you know?
It's kind of like the difference between the Jurassic Park velociraptors and the real ones in the museum.
In Jurassic World as well. They kind of did for the last movie, even though Dominion wasn't great. It looked a little bit more scientifically accurate, which was cool. And then the Rebirth movie.
They were still too big. They were
yes.
A real velociraptor was actually much smaller than that. Much smaller than that. And much more brightly coloured.
This is a great quote for today. Alan Grant, Dr. Alan Grant, of course, Mr. Sam Neill himself. Try to imagine yourself in the Cretaceous period. You get your first look at that 6-foot turkey as you enter a clearing. He moves like a bird, lightly, bobbing his head.
Mm.
Yep.
Even though technically they weren't even half that size. Just saying.
And bone structure is just such a weird thing that we have to completely have in play in the conversation we're having. You know, it's what the hell. So like, here's the fantasy dragon. This would be the bone structure of the fantasy dragon, right here, which is not necessarily realistic, but let's see what they say about it. Enter the dragon, king of Hogwarts. This brings us back to Dracoryx Hogwartsia. What does this real fossil tell us? Wait a second. Oh, I was like, that's not a... Is this a similar fossil? This is not the same one from earlier, because this one only has 2 front arms, and this one...
That one has
okay, this is a fake one. This is supposed to be what the actual... what we would think a dragon is supposed to be like. Okay, I was just confused for a moment there. But Dracoryx Hogwartsia, what's the real fossil tell us? It had a fantastically dragon-like head with spikes and knobs, perfect for inspiring myths. Critically, had 2 arms and 2 legs, no wings. There's zero skeletal evidence for any fire-breathing ability, and it was a plant-eating dinosaur from the late Cretaceous period. Dracoryx is the perfect example, a real creature whose fossilized appearance is striking enough to fuel legendary tales, but whose biology fits firmly within the known rules of nature, unlike the dragons of Harry Potter, How to Train Your Dragon, etc.
Yeah, that seems to be going back in history to when some fossilized dinosaur skeletons, bones were found, and they instantly said dragon because they didn't know it. They were looking at a large reptile. That's all they saw, and that's what they said, dragon. So yeah, that is probably the most dragon-like in appearance, I suppose, with the head
Very
wide.
What is the because it looks very similar to that, but what's Land Before Time? You seen Land Before Time?
Yep.
Ducky. What is Ducky's breed? Because that would look like a dragon to me, fossilized. That long crescent head, longer tail, bigger hind legs, smaller, shorter arms. That even though it didn't look, Ducky's not winged, and I don't think the species is depicted.
Wasn't he sort of like a gamma migrant or something like that along those lines?
Maybe it was the same type of dinosaur that Owen Grady is herding in Jurassic World Dominion. Now that we're thinking about that one,
yeah.
Dino is Owen Grady. Oh, is Ducky? Yeah. Hadrosaurid. This one right here. I could very easily see these skeletal structures making you think that's a frickin' dragon to some degree. Makes me want to watch Little Land Before Time.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good story for today, but I'll briefly joke about it. I definitely one of the first times I ever did acid watched Land Before Time all the way through, and it was great. Very interesting in that mindset. Pterodactyl likely was found in the dirt and the bones as they wrote of flying dragons. And here we have a baby dragon. Super possum. And even if you saw those, if you saw a pterodactyl with...
There is actually, is it a Dracorex or something along those lines, I think it's called. Trying to remember the creature from that show Primeval. That's a great show, by the way. There was a creature in that, a dinosaur in that looked a lot like a dragon. It had twin fins on the back, twin dorsal fins or whatever they're called, and it had horned head. It's very dragon-like, and it's an episode where they actually had a knight come through an anomaly chasing it. So yeah, the knight was chasing a dragon and came through the anomaly and ended up in modern day. I think it was called the Dracorex.
Yeah, Dracorex, this thing right here, huh?
Let's see. That's full screen. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And what about it?
Whether it was a real dinosaur, I don't know.
Oh, no, it says it was made for the show. But the Dracorex Hogwartsia was literally what we just talked about.
Yeah.
That was. But yeah, talking about all these myths and things of that, not all myths are the same. By the way, it's worth noting that the classic fire-breathing four-legged winged monster is mainly a European concept. Traditional East Asian dragons, like the Chinese long, are often wingless, serpentine beings associated with water.
Right, the thing about the Chinese one, they're often wingless or they have very small wings.
Yeah, and it is interesting that they are more Leviathan, water-based.
Well, actually, no. If you think about it this way, they are more they're more snake-like because their habitat may have been more along the lines of a bamboo forest, where their long, slim body would have been beneficial for hunting.
Very much so.
Yeah. So, and their very short wings would be pretty good for gliding across little hard to reach places. So,
yeah. And in Chinese mythology, at least, they're not generally depicted as malevolent monsters, which is cool.
No.
Europeans later applied their dragon label to these distinct mythical beings, so even the idea of a dragon isn't necessarily universal in the same sense, you know?
But that's a Chinese dragon is one that you could argue could be a basis for Leviathan. If its tail was slightly different and... maybe the tail could have appeared as a second head at in some fashion. So yeah.
Peter does ask kind of a funny question: why are there no boring, ugly dragons? Well, okay, in East Asian stuff, it's very like ornate and fun and stuff. But I'd say there are. I'd say Komodo dragons are generally kind of retired. is great. But I like Komodos and bearded dragons, stuff like that. Even if we're only thinking about dragons in like the winged sense, like flying beings, I mean, the ones we consider dragons modernly don't have those. Who's to say those weren't around back then as well in this theoretical thought?
We got to bear in mind also the ones that we call dragon now were named around the same time. So
yeah.
So there's some of the sources of some of the myths from other countries. So there are some that believe a larger version of the Komodo dragon may have lived on, I think, was it the African continent at some point in history. So a larger version of the Komodo. Yeah, that could be a very large animal, very dangerous.
Okay. Monk did ask the question that Lead Farmer asked: if you put an electric eel in a sealed bucket of brewing spirits, would it ignite vapors? He asked ChatGPT, so take that for what you will. Potentially, yes, an electric eel can discharge hundreds of volts, but ignition depends on whether there is an actual spark arc in the vapor space. Ethanol vapors from brewing distilling spirits can be highly flammable in air, and a spark could ignite.
Well, think about it this way: you put an electrical current through water, what do you get? Hydrogen. What happens to hydrogen when it gets hit by a spark? It ignites.
Kind of chicken eating the egg. I was going to say snake eating its own tail, but a chicken and the egg.
Basically, the jar or the container will become a bubble tank for hydrogen. It would eventually ignite if the spark touches the part that isn't underwater. So yeah.
Huh. Well, while we are
science, baby.
Science. Let's go ahead and bring up a little discovery. You know, here Monk sent us this. Oh my God, so many ads. 4 dragons have entered the fossil record. Some paleontologists don't mind leaning into the popularity of dragons, especially if it attracts more interest in and attention to their work. This is Stephen C. George, January 24th, 2023. The Argentina's Dragon of Death. So the thought here. Old school paleontologists would have frowned upon a colleague referring to a fossil find as anything like a dragon. Certainly in the early days of this branch of science, it must have been a tad exasperating to explain to non-scientists that the giant bone they found in a local quarry or ground up for some folk remedy was not evidence of a legendary cryptid, but was instead a precious artifact worthy of preservation and legitimate study. But if additions to the fossil record over the past couple of decades are anything to go by, paleontologists have loosened up a little bit. Many seem all too happy to describe their finds and even give them scientific names in terms that reference popular dragon lore. And why not? And if referring to a new fossil found in a dragony terms garners more public interest and attention to your work in your field, then what's the harm? As proof, here are 4 examples of dragon discoveries that caught our attention. They're probably yours too. In 2022, Argentina's Dragon of Death.
Nope. I can understand if they called that a bird of death, but there was already a bird of death that existed, so.
Ayo.
That is not a dragon. I don't
The
see
most
how
recent
it
entry-
was a dragon.
Well, I could very easily see how people think that was a dragon. Especially given all the preface that we already gave earlier.
Just looks like a type of pterosaur to me.
Well, it is. So the most recent entry in this list, let's be clear, it's not a dinosaur. It's actually a pterosaur, the biggest pterosaur ever found in South America. 2 examples were uncovered in the Argentinian province of Mendoza, the biggest of which had a wingspan of roughly 30 feet, about the size of a modern hang glider. Dating to the late Cretaceous period, these large-skulled flying reptiles died more than 86 million years ago, but time did not erode their ability to impress the researchers who found them. The fossils were named as 2 examples of the species. Thanatos dracon amaru. The species name amaru refers to an Incan deity and means essentially flying serpent. The genus name is literally Greek for dragon of death. The fossils and a life-size reproduction of one of those dragons is on display at the National University of Coyo in Mendoza. So Thanatos dracon amaru is an awesome name.
It is an awesome name, but that's no fucking dragon.
See, I'm of the mind it may be. I'm not convinced pterodactyls and pterosaurs.
No, I wouldn't. I would if I saw one of those flying through the sky. I wouldn't think dragon. I would probably think more along the lines of wyvern.
Yes, but also the first thing that you're going to, let's just have that hypothetical real quick of, okay, there's a dragon in the sky. Oh, it's only got 2 legs and it's got wings. It's a wyvern. There's a wyvern in the sky. You're just gonna call it a dragon. We're not gonna go around and say, oh, that's a wyvern or wyvern or a dragon or what. You're simply gonna say that's a dragon. You know, it's not gonna be.
I mean, great acting, by the way. I'd be looking up and I'd be like, oh shit, it's a pterosaur.
Well, okay, if it's a pterosaur from what we know with our modern knowledge, sure. But anytime 150 years ago, 200 years ago past, that's a dragon.
Well, I think 100, anything like that far back, you'd probably be looking up at the sky and thinking, can I eat that or not?
Well, that's also a thing, but you're also wondering if it's going to swoop down and slaughter you and your family and maybe your crops or whatever else, the local village, anything. And this is true. Not sure if 100% of it was featherless also. That last dino right there, the Thanatos draconamaru, this depicts as being feathered. I know it's not necessarily... Yeah, that's
feathered, or is that just a pattern?
It's feathered.
Oh, it's the fur-like feather, not feathers as in what we know feathers to look like now.
Well, yeah, it looks more like fur here, but I don't think
feathers evolved from something. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
They found some signs that the Terra family was mostly feathered. Yep. Yeah. Australia's spearmouth dragon. So another pterosaur whose discovery was announced a year earlier than Argentina's death dragon didn't have quite the wingspan of its South American counterpart. The fossil that was uncovered did, however, possess a spear-like mouth and a row of teeth straight out of House of the Dragon. Dating to more than 150 million years ago, the pterosaur holds pride of place as the largest flying reptile yet discovered in Australia. It didn't hurt its public profile that, in announcing its find, the University of Queensland teamed who analyzed the fossil was, the University of Queensland team who analyzed the fossil was unabashed in describing their discovery in the fieriest, most dragon-like way. It's the closest thing we have to a real dragon, gushed one member of the team in a news release. This thing would have been quite savage. When the university news release announcing the find is pleased to call it a savage thing, you know it's impressive. The paleontology team eventually settled on the official name of Thapungaki shawi. Thapungaki shawi, I believe. The genus name is derived from indigenous words that literally mean spearmouth, while the species name acknowledges one Lin Shaw, a local fossil hunter who initially discovered the unidentified specimen in 2011. The Aussie dragon is currently on display in Queensland Museum. Yeah, if it was any time before 150, 200 years ago, that's a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you think?
Pterosaur. I can't not see a pterosaur.
But okay, take your mind out of modern biases. If you're 150 years ago, 200 years ago, before the thought of paleontology even existed, that's a dinosaur, right? I mean, that's obviously a dinosaur. That's a dragon, right?
From
everything you know.
I can't put myself in that mindset for these because I know what they are. And to be honest, I know it wouldn't. I know it's less likely to attack my family rather than my catch of the day from the fish. Because I mean, it's been believed that pterosaurs, particularly ones with long beaks like that, were more likely their diet was small reptiles and maybe fish. Because pelicans have a long beak, right? But they have that throat. So
that's true. I
mean, if anything, I'd probably just say, a big bird. It's Big Bird from fucking Sesame Street.
Big Bird. Yeah, maybe. Not that large of one. I'm not entirely sure. If I saw that 200 years ago, I would have thought I had eaten some bad mushrooms. That could have been yesterday too. You don't know. Yes.
Yeah, but again, 200 years ago, what was going on in the world 200 years ago? You'd probably be more likely to shoot it down and eat it rather than be concerned with what it is.
Maybe not. I mean, 200 years ago is...
Well, depending on which country, where you are in the world, 200 years ago, you know?
Well, depending on where you are, that does change things. That does. It was not universally... And it's still not universally westernized or anything like that, but the world is much more modern across the globe than it was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot it and display it, have it drawn. Well, see, and that's the thing. I think more people would have ran away from these things because, and it seems like they did, because typically the answer would be eat it and then display it and have it drawn, you know? Or at least tell somebody about it. And most of the time, I guess there are dragon slaying things and all that, but...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. That's
There's
interesting.
200 years ago, and then there's 500 years ago. It's a difference. 500 years ago, you'd believe anything that looked like a reptile that flew. You'd probably argue, "Oh yeah, that's a dragon." But 200 years ago, not necessarily. But either way, you're going to be thinking, "I probably should kill that because that could probably feed my family for a week."
That that'd probably be a thought, but I think the other thought is trying to get the hell away from not being killed yourself at first.
Or you'd have it on a spit over a fire, and you'd be tasting it, and you'd figure that would be better with barbecue sauce.
If they only had barbecue at the time, sauce wise.
Hey, barbecue sauce had to be invented at some point.
This is true.
We would have had the herbs and stuff. We might not necessarily been able to make a sauce, but we would have had the herbs to make it taste nice.
It was invented in the 1600s, actually.
Well, there you go.
First commercial barbecue sauce was sold in 1909 in Georgia, the U.S. Meanwhile, Vikings and saucy monsters had no fear. They just kept you going, The Amazing Dragon of Lingwu, China, though. To continue on this Discover article here. Visually, Lingwulong Shangi may be the biggest letdown of dinosaurs on this list. After all, there's little about it that would immediately bring to mind visions of a rapacious, fire-breathing monster. No terrifying wingspan, no sharply angular horned head. It wasn't even a meat-eater, but a gentle giant of an herbivore. From a pop culture perspective, the most dragon-like thing about the dinosaur is its name, which translates in Mandarin as Amazing Dragon of Lingwu. The Chinese city, near where the specimens were found. From a scientific perspective, however, this dragon's discovery was both exciting and unexpected. As Discover noted, when the study describing it was first published, the 174-million-year-old Diplodocus was, by a good 15 million years, the oldest of its kind known to date. Yeah, that's interesting. Certainly the earliest example known in China. At a stroke, the discovery of this creature reset the evolutionary timeline as one of the most massive dinosaurs ever to stride the planet. That's an amazing dragon indeed. So yeah, that one's really not a dragon besides me. I'm not gonna walk around and turn a corner in the woods.
That to me screams short-necked Brachiosaurus or Brontosaurus.
Yeah, very much so.
But then we're educated.
And then the Dracoric Hogwarts, yeah. we just went over this one.
Hogwarts.
This is the one from the last article. The Children's Museum of Indianapolis.
When you can see that. You can see why people would think that was a dragon if that was a real fossil.
Oh, it is a real fossil. That's the one we just saw.
Yeah,
it's very, very Hogwartsia. Yeah, hey, that's why they kept saying stuff about Gringotts over there. Oh God, who believes the Flintstones was real? I just had a complete image of just running around in cars.
Just think, even when the Flintstones just didn't get the real, they hadn't got the wheel just right yet.
Wilma! Yeah, honestly though, that's true. But while we did Discovery,
screw Wilma. I prefer Betty.
Betty and Wilma. Oh, Black Betty. Bam, but it makes me start.
Wilma's a little bit too skinny.
Scientists unveiled 240 million-year-old dragon fossil. This is February 23rd, 2024.
Yeah.
How's that, though? That's pretty good looking.
I can't quite make out what.
Yeah, imagine a Greek finding that looking for marble for building and freaking out. Betty or Wilma, another classic red dwarf conversation. Yeah,
I'll go with Betty. I'll be thinking of Wilma.
If I was an archaeologist or paleontologist and I find this, I am immediately saying, what the hell kind of dragon did I just find? Also, look at that spinal. Although, that's the head following the spine, wrapping around itself all the way. This is a Chinese dragon right here.
That's a snake. Oh, wait, no. What is that? I can't. I don't understand what that is because I can't make it out because it's a one. When it coils round, it's hard to make out because I can't see a big screen. You know,
the coil makes it very difficult. You see where my mouse is right there, though?
Yeah, that's a snake's head.
That looks like the head of a snake almost. And following the neck all the way in. But these little splinters of bone off of this is what makes it dragon-like to me. These little splinters over everything. Because this would follow about right here. This inner section right here is the spine that goes this way and curves back around over itself.
You could argue that part back there where it changed direction, you could argue that that's a broken spine.
You could, but right here. I think this is a broken spine right here.
Yeah, you could argue that
it still looks like that. Yeah, it's probably died from that. That's a good point. I
mean, that to me, if I was an ancient Greek and I was digging out I was getting a lump of marble and that appeared, I'd probably think dragon. But with an educated mind now, I mean, that just says to me that could have been a large snake who had just eaten and died, and as it was, and that's why you get the leg parts because it had eaten something before it died, and that's the legs and arms of whatever it ate. Because that to me screams more snake than anything else. And I'm not even saying about Chinese, the Chinese snake.
There are 4 legs clearly depicted, at least. But again, we know snakes had legs a long time ago too. Could those have been large creatures? And
a large snake with legs, that could have been an origin for the Chinese dragon for sure. Maybe a forked tongue, make it appear like it's breathing fire, just plain and simple. But yeah, I mean, there's ways you could argue that is a dragon. I mean, Chinese variation.
Yeah, it very much looks like the Chinese iteration of a dragon. Which is cool. This fossil is 240 million years old, according to the National Museums of Scotland. Let's scroll through this thing real quick. It's not too long of an article, thankfully.
Is it a sea? Is it a sea lot one? Is it one from an aquatic one? Is that it? That one. That's why, because the I forget what they call it. The fins, in those mate. I think they do have finger-like structures in their fins, if I remember rightly.
Is that a little bit easier to read for you? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that makes sense. Let's go ahead and dive in. Newly discovered fossils have allowed scientists to reveal a 240 million year old dragon in its entirety for the first ever time. The 5 meter long reptile from the Triassic period in China was first identified in 2003. But after studying 5 newer specimens for 10 years, scientists were able to depict the entire creature, which is named Dinocephalosaurus orientalis. One fully articulated fossil, the last to come to light, offered a beautiful, complete specimen from the tip of the nose right down to the tip of the tail. Dr. Nick Fraser, keeper of the National Sciences at NMS, and one of the researchers told CNN, "It's curled around in this sort of figure of 8, and it's very reminiscent of a Chinese dragon." That fossil helped illuminate this mysterious creature, and an international team of researchers from Scotland, Germany, the US, and China published their findings in the journal Earth and Environmental Science Transactions of the Royal Society of Edinburgh. Okay, but yeah, that was a mouthful. Professor Li Chun from the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology in Beijing was the first to uncover the fossils back in 2003. He was visiting a small village in the Guizhou province, southern China, when he noticed a small vertebra on a slide of limestone, according to his colleague Fraser. Local farmers then took Chun to a big pen where there were other pieces of that type of rock, and he started to find bone fragments and piece them together to discover this new species, Fraser had. It is then that we get this photo. an artist's rendition of the ancient marine creature, Marlene Donnelly. So, now newer fossils indicate that the creature had 32 vertebrae, creating an extremely long neck that likely helped it to catch fish, though scientists are still unsure of its precise function. I'm still baffled by the function of the long neck, Fraser said. The only thing that I can come up with is that they were feeding in the waters that had rocks and perhaps crevices in them, and they were using their long necks to probe and move into some of those crevices and maybe get prey that way. Fish are still preserved in the stomach region of one fossil, indicating that it was well adapted to a marine environment, and its flippered limbs reinforce that hypothesis. Oh, what just happened? Researchers said in their paper. They added that the Dinocephalosaurus's long neck resembled another ancient and equally baffling marine reptile, Tenestrophius hydroides. As paleontologists, we use modern-day analogs to understand life in the past. For Dinocephalosaurus and Tenestrophius, there's no modern-day analog, Fraser said, adding that researchers can compare creatures such as ichthyosaurs to their modern-day counterparts like tuna and dolphins. So we are still struggling quite a bit, as we do with a lot of animals in the Triassic, because it really is a weird and wonderful world of all sorts of bizarre animals doing things which animals today don't seem to be doing. Okay. Yep. That was a lot of dinosaur jargon in that one.
Yep.
Vertebra. It was a lot. I was saying a lot of words. Dinosyphilis, precisely. I don't know. I think that one could have credence to what the Chinese water dragon was,
and the sea monster, the sea serpent.
Very much so. I mean, talk about something that looks like Nessie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my brain hurts from
could be a
reading.
similar family to. Could be an expanded family of what Nessie is supposed to be. Nessie's supposed to be something similar, but maybe not. I don't think Nessie's supposed to be a carnivorous one, though.
This one right here.
Mm-hmm.
It said it eats fish.
Oh yeah, but Nessie's not supposed to have so many pointy teeth.
Oh. Well, I mean, no one's actually ever taken an actual photo of Nessie by the likes of it. So, if Nessie is
no one's taken a proven. No one's taken a proven real image of Nessie. They've always been debunked.
There are other dinosaurs that.
But here's the thing. If you had a lake or a loch near your community, and you had loads of tourists coming in because someone had started spreading rumors that there's a sea monster in there called Nessie, and someone actually took real pictures of it and tried to publish it. I mean, wouldn't you protect it and say, no, we don't want you to actually show Nessie's actually there. We want people to keep coming. You say it's there, then the whole town changes.
Sure. Yes, and no.
The community, right? So you don't want.
Yes, but also you would want to take a picture of it and get scientists there to actually be able to put conservation efforts around it and put the dollars.
Conservation.
Well, I mean, like literally though, if Nessie were to be found as a real thing, there might be folks that are like, oh, well, we could make a penny off of it, but that's that greediness at the same time. Is realistically the legend of Nessie
is so long. The legend of Nessie being that Loch Ness is so long that the likelihood of Nessie actually being alive from the original sighting is very low.
Minuscule at best. Yeah. Lake Champlain also had talks of possible creature tourist trap story. Yeah. And honestly, if it was found real, you wouldn't want to say, oh, don't take a picture. Oh, don't let folks know it's real. Like you would.
Well, no. What I'm saying is you would actively debunk any picture just to try and prevent, say, a large presence of government funding to try and capture it and study it. That would be kind of pointless. You want it to remain like a mystery. You don't want the government to come along and say, "Oh, look, we're going to dart it with some tranquilizer. We're going to lift up on you. We're going to take some measurements. We're going to do this. We're going to do that." You don't want that to happen.
Well, that's probably not the approach they take realistically. No. That's more
but if Nessie was real and proven to be real, that is what would happen.
No, not remotely. No. That's what they do in a movie.
It is exactly what will happen.
They would tag Nessie.
They would want to study it. They would want to tag her. Therefore, they would want to measure her, take her weight, find out everything they can about her. So they would have to literally knock her out and, lift her out of the water to test to get her weight and measurements.
All they would need to do nowadays is shoot her with a tag to trace and locate her, and or it, whatever. And at that point, you have LiDAR, you have boats to go around. It's I don't know. I've been in Africa and seen like large animals be studied and so on and so forth, and it's always such a cool thing to see and witness. That's not necessarily the approach. They don't remove the animal from the environment unless they have to.
Well, they're not removing her from the environment. They are removing her from the water. They're going to put her back, but they will take her out of the water to make them take the measurements. And they'll also
especially with something like, if they don't even remove lions or elephants or other animals from certain areas, they're not going to remove. They do, but only in hyper specific situations. Most of the time, it's best to focus on the animal where they are, trace them, follow them, dart them, treat them, keep moving when they start waking up. That's how it's typically handled. That would not. They are not taking.
That's fine. Okay, fine.
Modern conservation. I'm telling you, like
I'm seeing monks with you, and it's fine. So we'll move on.
Well, sure. Yeah, I just with modern conservation,
I don't have as much faith in people as that, especially when it comes to studying something rare.
It's not that I have faith in people or especially the system. It's just that's the way the system works now, and especially with larger conservation.
Maybe for Africa, maybe for the US.
Those are two very wildly different approaches in the world.
Yeah,
almost opposite. Exactly. And if those do similar things, meeting in the middle would also be a similar thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I generated in one moment.
I got too much downloading whenever you send it in the middle of the thing. I have to download, upload, do this, that, and that. It's distracting. It's awesome. I just it makes me go move around a whole bunch. I will if we have a downtime in a second here. But yeah, I don't know. I just can't see them moving an animal from its environment if it's if it's the only known animal in the species. They would find a way to. Same thing like now that China kind of got called out about it, the Yangtze River dolphins have now gotten a much better conservation effort, and China didn't remove them or anything. They're now having to, I think, kind of lessen the pollution on the Yangtze River, which good luck getting China to do that. But hey, that's a different topic for a different day at the same time. And pink-nosed dolphins down in the Amazon and so on and so forth. There's I think a lot of credence on how something like that could be approached. Ultimately, though, this is a good summation of our thoughts for the day as well. A lot of this. Yes, I am a conservationist. I'm not some person walking around with like a green thumb necessarily. I mean, yes, I like to plant and have a garden and so on and so forth. For a small TV series, please, anyone, anywhere, just pay me, anybody, put me on an IMDb credit somewhere. Conservation is important. I like to eat animals a whole lot. It's my favorite thing. I've been carnivorous. I've been a carnivore for primarily, at least for the last 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. losing a lot of weight, doing all that, yada yada, gaining some back, and doing it all over again.
You've been a carnivore for what, 5 years? Is that what you say?
Vast majority of, and I probably ate more meat than I did anything else. A good.
So what were you before that? What were you before that?
I was a potato-vor. Because I freaking love me some potatoes.
Hey, meat and potatoes. Meat and potatoes. Can't go wrong with meat and potatoes.
No, you cannot. It is my favorite thing in the world. Conversationist and conservationist. Yeah, I literally messed it up as I said it. But hey, if I like to eat animals as much as I do, I'd also like to preserve their ability to continue having more animals for me to eat and for future generations to do so. Is food the only reason? No, I don't think so. But I like Earth, man. I get a little hippy dippy every now and then. I might be a Texan walking around and doing all kinds of crazy things at the same time, but I like Earth. Yeah, we're a cool spot. Potatoes and barbecue. Every culture does have ghosts as well. Humans are very gullible. Yep. Hey, let's have the ghost conversation at some point. That's not creatures and cryptids, but that'd be a fun one. Are ghosts?
Yeah.
Actually interdimensional, just things that we don't understand? Are they actually dead people that we think of, or are we just preconceiving an interdimensional being that we can't truly comprehend and just supersede what we know of, or something recent, or something that's traumatic in our lives, or traumatically based upon a certain spot we're at, into that thought? Yeah, that one's another fun one. Not nearly as based in legit science as dinosaurs and dragons can be,
Well, that's the thing. We're talking about dragons because it is the fictional side of it. It's mythology, legend. Dinosaurs are real. We know they're real because we can go to a museum and we can see their fossilized remains. So yeah, but dragons, we can't go and see fossilized remains because they don't actually exist in the fossil record. So, which is the only reason why they say that dragons aren't real. But that doesn't necessarily, in my mind, I don't see that as the case. I don't think just because there's something that doesn't appear in the fossil record doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yes, very true. I did want to bring this up real quick. I think I got it. It was made for us. We had to. It's got to load first. There it is. That was a very dinosaur-like Nessie, though. That would make me think water dragon.
Yep, that was cool.
Thank you, David, for that.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Our little finger has large fingered that one. Thank you. Watch some Dave Attenborough docs. The last 5 to 10 minutes of each episode is like a behind-the-scenes segment. Sometimes they show catch and release of animals in reserves to monitor movements. Yeah. Nessie plays with some attitude. And human brain is electricity based, so it's susceptible to static. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. That's a good thought. It's just a good thought.
Well, people have been known to be struck by lightning, and it changes their personality.
Yeah.
So,
bringing that Quora thing back up here. This is a Quora. Could dragons be real, or real at one point? In every culture, they have stories about them, or there are stories about them.
Yep.
And Sean Keefe writes here, that depends on what you mean by dragon. If you mean something like this, then no, it's too far removed from any known group of animal. For starters, it has 6 legs.
Here's the question, right? He's arguing that dragons could exist. I mean, who's to say that a dragon like that never existed? I mean, he can't, outright say no, The whole point is it's a legend, it's a myth. You know, legends and myths come from somewhere. And you know, throughout history, we've depicted a dragon as being a large flying reptile that breathes fire. So,
brings us back to the Russell's teapot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why Bigfoot, not big feet?
Hey, look,
Bigfoot episode. We will.
Schrodinger's dragon. Schrodinger's dragon. You put a box on a table and say there's a dragon in there. You know, it neither exists or doesn't exist in the box until you open it, right?
And it turns out it's just a flying lizard.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew a guy that got hit by lightning and his gold chain saved him. Made it skip his heart area. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Shro dragon. That's actually great. I like that a lot.
Schrodinger's dragon, yeah. It's like Schrodinger's cat.
Oh, yeah. Expecting this one, then no. It's too far removed from any known group of animal. For starters, it has 6 limbs, 4 in the usual places, plus the 2 on its back, the wings. While it's not impossible that a 6-limbed vertebrate could have evolved from lobe-finned fish like the coelacanth.
I love the way he says that. You know, it's got 6 limbs. It's like, well, you know, the wings don't have to be limbs, right? Because the flying dragon, the wings are not limbs. So,
yeah, technically they are. Yeah, wings would be a limb.
Well, I mean, flaps of skin are not a limb. So the flying dragon's wings for gliding are not limbs. Because they don't have any. Yeah, they're just skin essentially.
I'm pretty positive. Okay, well, whenever I search "are wings limbs," okay, I was like, did I say that right? Whether wings or limbs depends on the
but I'd say, you know, specifically for the flying dragon, they're not limbs. But the flying dragon that we looked at earlier, which I said,
this one, it would not be a limb.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, for that one in that image, it would definitely be a limb because you can clearly see that there's an arm structure inside the wing. But yeah.
Oh.
It's like a chicken. The wings are a limb, right?
Yeah, that's kind of, key distinctions. Vertebrates, birds, bats, and pterosaurs, wings share the same basic bone structure as human arms, making them modified limbs. Insects, wings are separate, cuticle-based structures from the thorax. They are likely derived from different sources, such as gill appendages or expansions of the thorax, rather than modified legs. Dragons, in fictional biology, wings are often depicted as an extra pair of limbs, resulting in a 6-limbed body. So whether it's dragons, no matter if it's the 4.
This is the thing. They're arguing for that specific type of dragon, not a possible dragon that may have existed. Like you can put a horn on a horse, doesn't make it a unicorn. But if that horse was born with a horn, then it is definitely a unicorn, right?
Sure. We've only made it about 3 sentences in so far, though. I think it's more of a preface for what he's trying to make. It's AI. It could have evolved from lobe fins, fin fish like the coelacanth. It would be a completely separate branch of animal from mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians. As such, it would have its own natural history of sextapods, from early transitional forms like Ichthyostega up to something like Aeroraptor. Euraptor. I don't know how to say that one. And I believe this is the there it is, the Ichthyostega, and this would be the Euraptor, but with a pair of fins on its back. It would also probably not be able to fly. There just wouldn't be the musculature to get something that massive off the ground. The biggest thing to ever fly was Quetzalcoatlus, which was properly big but wasn't massive. It might have just weighed less than a bear. And that makes sense. This is it next to a human right here. Modern version of it right here. And hey, that makes sense. Oh, Peter has to go? See you, Peter.
See you, Peter.
Just continuing on though. Here's that big old Quetzalcoatlus right here, picking up smaller dinosaurs like nobody's business. Now, that thing would have been able to terrify villages. Forget T-Rex. Quetzalcoatlus would have been the scariest thing running around 66 million years ago. It could not only fly, but gallop like a giraffe, which it was about the same size of, which to me at least is really unsettling. And a human would be close to optimal prey for it. It would chase you down, swallow you alive, and fly off. But it's not a dragon. Two-legged dragons, called wyverns in English, but are still a kind of dragon, are somewhat more plausible in that at last that conformed to the tetrapod body plan. That was a weird grammar right there, but yeah, they at least have that tetrapod, which 4 limbs.
Tell me that's not from Game of Thrones.
Oh, those are Game of Thrones dragons. That's Drogon and Viserion.
Yep. I think Viserion. Yeah. That's a scene. That's an image from after the other one died. I can't remember the other one's name.
Drogon, Viserion, and the other one that died first was named after.
Viserys?
It was her brother, Khal Drogo. Yeah, Viserys, her brother, was Viserion, the green one. Drogon is the big brooding one in the background right there. And then I forget who she named the other one after. Oh, that's gonna kill me. Khaleesi dragon names. Yep.
Drogon, Rhaegal.
Rhaegal.
Yeah,
After Rhaegar. That's right. Viserion. That's right. Thank you. That was going to kill me there.
After her father. I think that was Rhaegal, wasn't it?
Rhaegar. That's right. Rhaegar, her father, who, of course, got around. Okay. I was cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, there were dinosaurs that kind of looked like it, like the Yi. Which, of course, that is a Yi-Ki, which we did read about earlier. That's not a fossil version of anything, of course, but hey. However, it probably wasn't capable of powered flight. It was only about the size of a small pigeon. And that would kind of give a little bit of a thought. I'm sorry, that looks like flying sloth. It did, though. It really did.
It did. That's what I was thinking. I thought, were they just sloth claws coming out of the bends in the back?
Kind of. Why? It even though it is totally more of a bird and reptilian, just feathered, it does look almost mammalian. It's because of the head. The head's too mammalian right there, I think. But yeah, right here, this kind of gives not necessarily more credence, but definitely it furthers the thoughts from earlier about hey, small creature, just a little bit of gust of wind goes 5, 6, 7, 8 feet above your head. You're not necessarily going to know that was immediately just right there. It might have looked a lot bigger and further away, said the sloth.
Kind of like I said when we were talking about the flying dragon, the flying lizard.
Yes, exactly.
Gliding lizards. I say it's small enough that if it was a few feet above your head, and you were looking up at the sky, and there was no trees above you, you were looking up. It looked like it was higher up.
Definitely, yeah. And if biologically that makes more sense.
Yeah. I
don't see that not happening necessarily.
Especially if you're new to the area, to that country, you've never been there before.
Presumably, the closest thing you'll get to a wyvern-style dragon, though, is something like Dimorphodon pterosaur, which is like, if we're talking about the body of a dragon, that is the body of a dragon. Wyvern,
Kinda.
excuse me. Yeah. However, despite being used as a monster in Jurassic World, Dimorphodon mostly ate fish and was about the size of an eagle.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not all that huge. There is no animal that can breathe fire either. The reason for this is simple. There is no animal that's fireproof. Because of the sustained contact with the flame, the dragon would suffer worse burns than anything it was breathing fire at. Since burns get infected so easily, it's unlikely that any animal that, by freak chance, developed this ability would pass it on. Yeah, there's no way fire breathing in the sense of fantasy and that fantastical thought was real. Now, the bombardier beetle that y'all brought up earlier, you and Lead Farmer, that could give some credence, you know?
Yeah.
Except that bombardier beetle. But that's also, it was closer to a chemical burn and boiling water than it was, or boiling chemicals rather than actual flames.
Yeah.
And that's possible. That, I mean, we see it and talking about Rain of Fire a little bit, you know? It's an awesome little part of that. To continue on, despite what some creationists seem to think, now there's a family of lizards, the agamids, which are referred to as dragons. Those are real and exist right now. You can go to a pet shop and look at them. They're called dragons because they have a wild array of spines and crest and colors that make them look like fantasy creatures. They definitely don't not.
Well,
That
any
looks like
lizard can look like
water.
a mythical creature. Any lizard can look like a mythical creature.
There's even one that can fly, kind of.
Oh, yes.
And of course, the largest lizard in the world is called a dragon, though it's not an agamid, but a monitor lizard. And finally, the word used to name dinosaurs from China, long.
Wait,
Means dragon.
what did he say? What did he say for the for that lizard, the monitor lizard? Did he say that's the largest?
The largest lizard in the world is called a dragon, though it's not an agamid. Komodo dragons are a monitor lizard, technically.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're in the monitor lizard family.
Because the other creatures typically called dragons are part of
But
the
technically,
agamid.
they're not really. They're not really regarded as the same because monitor lizards are not so bad, technically.
No, yeah, they don't go at people the same
They
way.
have the bacteria in their saliva and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Maybe it ate petroleum and its snot was the catalyst. Oh my! I hear it's cleansing its nostril. It's gonna fire at us. That's great.
Mm.
The blue and red lizard looks like Spider-Man. Now imagine that blue and red lizard, giant, spitting venom at you. That's a dragon. This little guy, but giant, spitting venom, and maybe even he has some wings coming at you. Like, that's a dragon to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he starts slinging webs as well, that's going to be kind of crazy, but we shall see. Those are all the articles. We've brought up CNN, we brought up Discovery Channel, we brought up the Discovery Network, we brought up Indianapolis Children's Museum, we brought up a few other places that I'm just kind of struggling. Oh, it wasn't the Disciples Road, but it was a biblical version of all the dragons that are in there. And I don't know. Have we reached a conclusion? Was the goal to even reach a conclusion, or was it just to kind of put the thought out there that some of the things in our world that we think of as mythology might have some credence to them? And sometimes we have to seek it out to actually figure out where
Well, I don't think we managed to talk enough about the origin of the myth and legends enough. But as for the proof of whether they're real or not, I don't think we made a difference, to be honest. If they're ever real, I love to believe that dragons were real, and and I'm being big, large winged, four-legged dragons breathing fire, flying through the mountains. I love to believe in that. The European dragons. I like to believe in the Chinese dragons and them having two variants, with the aquatic variant and the forest variant, which makes sense. But there's nothing anyone can say to convince me otherwise of whether they were real or not. Because you can poke holes in any theory, whether there's, and it doesn't matter which way the theory is. You can always poke holes in it. Just like I was doing, saying that the bone structure is hollow. It's a honeycomb bone structure, which means that it's lighter despite being strong. The bladders having gases that are lighter than air, helping with with lift, so they don't have to lift so much weight with their wings. So basically, you can argue either way, and it's going to be one of those ones. It's the chicken and the egg, or like they said, like it was mentioned earlier, the dragon and the egg. Which came first? It's one of those questions that you never know the answer for. And we could know the only way to find out if dragons were real is if a fossil or a frozen mummified remains were found. So, but the problem is there haven't been, so you can't prove it either way. So, if they were real, we need to find physical evidence to prove that they were real. But legend and myth has an origin somewhere, and
where there's smoke, there's typically something.
And dragons have been depicted in multiple cultures all around the world, which never had any contact with each other. So, it's hard to prove either way. But I like to believe that they were real. Not that they are. They were probably, in my view, they were hunted to extinction because they were threatening farms. It's something that people would have done back then in the medieval times. We would have protected the farms. We would have protected the livestock to the last. So, just like we have it in history in the UK alone. We hunted wolves and bears to extinction in the UK. We had wolves hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. We had bears thousands of years ago. We don't now because we hunted them to extinction in the UK. We've been introducing wolves into some parts of the country as well, but
Well, a very modern thought process there is in the U.S. and the States, we did the same thing with the bison, less than 300 bison left at one point, and thankfully they've astronomically grown back to an actual populace in the States, but they were almost hunted to distinction. Hunted to, what word am I just missing right there?
I have no idea. What word are you missing?
Extinction. Oh my god, I was like distinction. That's not the right word. Extinct. The word on the tip of my tongue that I couldn't think of for half a second. That one. Dire wolves, the big cow, oryx or something. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
look, that rabbit's got a vicious streak.
Dire wolves were, although they are a myth, there was actually a large wolf that was discovered, which could have been a dire wolf at some point. Can't remember exactly everything about it, but we're not talking about dire wolves. So.
That would be kind of a fun thing to do at some point, bringing back the wolves, and they're not actually dire wolves, but they could eventually grow into something similar.
Well, you think about it this way: a normal grey wolf in Alaska, given the right climate, given the right food supply and enough food, they can grow quite big. So, they're not small animals. So, yeah.
Yeah, 60,000 years ago, wolves were bigger, and it's not the same. They're really not.
60,000 years ago, everything was bigger except for us. I think we were supposed to be smaller. If we existed back.
20 feet leap too. But didn't St. George slay a dragon?
Exactly.
There is the old popular Christian legend where a Roman soldier rescues a princess from a terrorizing monster, symbolizing the victory of good over evil.
Which is probably the origin of the damsel in distress, rescuing the damsel in distress from the dragon.
Yeah. And literally talk about Christianity believing in dragons and having mythology as well, if not literally setting the stage for a good chunk, if not the vast majority of mythology that we know of in the fantastical sense right here. Like, hey, the golden legend, this tale of bravery made George a beloved saint and symbol of chivalry in the Middle Ages. Yeah, we definitely had smaller brains 60,000 years ago too. Oldest cave art times.
Yeah, but we still knew how to hunt. We still knew how to hunt.
A moose once bit my sister. So we are 2 hours and 2.5 hours, excuse me, into this thing. Yeah. Would you like to give it a few more minutes, or go ahead and call it?
You can do. I mean, how often do you get to go this long on a stream?
Well, Stormy hasn't been on in a long time, so it's usually you and I doing it if we are.
Hey, I don't think we've actually rambled anything about anything in this one.
No, we haven't. I will give you a...
That's not on. That's not on. We have to ramble now. We have to do a ramble quick. What should we ramble about?
What? Oh, wow.
Oh, man. Apparently moose bites can be pretty nasty. Or any bite can be nasty, I would have thought.
I may, because I was supposed to meet somebody 15 minutes ago to do a Buy Nothing group, which is me just picking some stuff up. Are you okay with rambling for 2 minutes by yourself and me coming back and joining back? Or would you like to jump on? Because it's only about half a mile away from me, so it's not far. And I'm just picking up a bunch of vinyls, a bunch of free vinyl records. So it would only be a brief, momentary leave. But I understand if you don't want to ramble that much yourself.
Oh, I don't know what to ramble about, so...
any other dragon stuff, or even the St. George stuff.
I think it's probably best to end.
Okay,
I can't think of anything, so I mean, I don't want to just sit here and say nothing.
Yeah, no. If there was more dragon talk you wanted to, I definitely didn't want to just stop it right here and there.
Yeah.
But before we just start rambling, that means we're gonna go ahead and end this puppy. Yep. It has been a crazy day. 2 hours of pure dragonitis.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. I do find it hilarious that it is tied in the poll over here.
But they're all three of them are 33% out of 4.
Yes, kinda, and even more of a kinda. But hey, this was a fun one. We do need to dive into something like we can do something like this with Bigfoot. We can do something like this with Yeti, the abominable snowman, Nessie. Nessie might have even been covered a little bit today, and we can dive even further one day if we really need to. We have options. There are a lot of things happening. And of course, we can always talk about cool creatures. If there's a movie or TV show that is very much prevalent on the mind, and like, hey, if this was going on during Stranger Things, whether we loved Stranger Things season 5 or not, we would have been talking about how cool the Mind Flayer at least looked, and Vecna as a creature and creature design. And if there's anything like that on TV or film-wise that y'all have been watching, hit us up. Let us know. Put it in the comment section. Put it in the SciTrek community page, which you can always go to. If you go to our post and press the community button, you can post in there too. It's like Discord, but for YouTube. Also, we have a Discord, so go check that out if you haven't. Patreon memberships, y'all know the deal. Before I start just going away telling everybody what to do over here, good sir, what do you have for folks over at your channel?
I haven't really been doing a lot. I've been saying that I'm going to do a live stream on G30, but I just can't get my software to
cooperate.
Stop losing FPS. So I'm losing a lot of frames per second when I'm doing a recording. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to live stream that. I need to get myself an Elgato and a second PC, I think. So
Nice.
it'll be a
Yep.
little while. Quest RC, I've been too busy doing live streams with you guys to be concentrating on much over there. But yeah, I'll start getting some videos out, I think, and we'll go from there. I've got to think about it. I'm going to think about it tomorrow and see if I can record one or two. So yeah,
Cool. The special moose effects and beans depart the sea in the comment section is a little crazy right now. But you know what to do. I'm assuming you're already following old Melvin. If you're not, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Hey, you're not going to follow someone that's not putting content on their channel, but I will be. Don't worry, I will be.
There's plenty of back catalog to go check out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of back catalog to check out.
Sure.
Well, of course, like we mentioned, subscribe to Melvin. If you're not here, we would appreciate it. We do have our Farscape Patreon stream ending on Monday. And that one's going to be not ending necessarily. I guess we do have the Peacekeeper Wars the week after, but we're ending the series proper of Farscape with the final 3 episodes. And I'm very excited.
I might join you. I'm going to be joining you, hopefully, for the Peacekeeper Wars.
Yeah, you want to do, right?
It's my favourite of the Farscape. Really, seriously. The
Next
ending.
Monday. Not this Monday, not 2 days from now, but next Monday.
Next Monday.
Yes.
Not this Monday, next Monday.
Yeah, this Monday we are finishing the series. Tomorrow, though, of course, we have Sci-Fi Sundays, and we have a couple interesting thoughts that may end up as topics. So we will have a few of us in, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday, we are having our Stargate Outpost again. Thursday, no Creatures and Cryptids, because Creatures and Cryptids is Saturday now. I might actually not be able to make Saturday. Actually, no. I think 4 p.m. is our call time. I'm going on set as just a helpful producer person, and I think that starts at 4 p.m. So we should be fine. But yeah, Creatures and Cryptids, and of course Friday we'll have Radical Wasteland podcast. Hopefully with Lucas this week. If we can't get Lucas to come in for an interview, then we will go ahead and talk.
Lucas, George Lucas?
If only. Lucas, yeah.
Honestly.
Check him out on IMDb so he can climb up that star meter on IMDb. That's always helpful for all of us. But yeah, Lucas Shep should join us either this coming Friday or the following Friday to talk about Paradise Season 1, Episode 4, Agent Billy Pace, in which he is in there. And if that is not the case, we will go ahead and start our conversation on Paradise Season 2 and hopefully get him for the following week. We're also trying to shoot for one of the editors for the entirety of the show of Paradise. And she's a friend of mine, and we should be able to get that hopefully before I leave town. We shall see. All that being said, thank you
This
for
has
hanging.
been Creatures and Cryptids.
This has been Creatures and Cryptids. It's been a wild one. It's been a fun one. It's been goofy. It's been anything and everything it can be. Thank y'all for hanging with us. We love and appreciate you. Oh my gosh, if I can speak. There be dragons. Stay cosmic, SciTrekkers. And we will see you in the next video.
Later on, guys.